We're recording.
Meeting, please come to order. Susie, please call the roll.
Commissioner Levine, McLean Hill, Neiman Brady, and Susanna Reyes present.
This proceeding is broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. As my fellow commissioners know, I seldom have opening remarks, but today I have 3 sets of them. I will try to be succinct. First, on behalf of the Commission and the Department, I want to very warmly welcome a delegation here from Jordan, leaders of their Ministry of Water and Irrigation, and leaders in water policy for the country of Jordan. I'm going to ask them to stand after I mention all of their names. There's a large group of representatives from Jordan down the hall. They're talking with a number of our people that are doing similar things that they do with regard to water, and hopefully that this is a useful exchange for both sides, and we very, very warmly welcome you here and are very thrilled to have the opportunity to get to know you better and to share thoughts with you with regard to issues that are of such significance to your country, to our region. As Marty, our general manager, was saying to me earlier, I guess he mentioned this to you as well, our problems and our issues are very similar, and we're situated climactically very similarly. And so we welcome this and anticipate that this will lead to cooperation on various levels in the future. The leaders of the delegation, and this is a title that the leaders of our department are coveting, and that is His Excellency Engineer. Ali Subah, who's the Secretary General of the Ministry of Water and Irrigation. Welcome, His Excellency Engineer, and let's see how quickly Marty and Rich grab for that title. Next we have Mr. Faris Al-Azam, the Deputy Secretary General of the Ministry of Water and Irrigation. Ms. Jan Sait Habj, this is a tongue twister, legal advisor. She's the Brajevich's counterpart to the Ministry of Water and Irrigation. And Mr. Ibrahim Obada, project coordinator for the Ministry of Water and Irrigation. We welcome you, we thank you for being here, we wish you well, and we're looking forward to a long and fruitful relationship with you. Welcome. I have another great privilege in introducing someone that all of us know of well. Not everybody here actually knows him as well as they might, because they got here after he graduated from his position as Vice President of the Board of the Commission on Water and Power. Bill Funderburk was appointed the same time that I was, that Commissioner Barad, who unfortunately isn't here, was. Our 2 newest commissioners, actually our 3 newest commissioners, one of whom was appointed on the occasion of Bill's departure, have not had the privilege of working with Bill. And working with him was really an extraordinary pleasure. And I know I'm speaking for all of us who worked with him during the years that he served as Vice President. He is a hard worker, creative, thoughtful, completely honest, filled with integrity, a real team player, and a very effective commissioner. It was due to Bill's leadership more than of probably everybody else combined that we have established equity metrics in the Department of Water and Power. And we all miss him. And he has brought with him people who look like his brother and sister, but they're really his mother and father. And his mother will especially appreciate that I'm wearing a necktie today. That's something that we'll leave between us. But Mrs. Funderburk, I want you to know that this necktie actually belongs to Marty Adams. I had to borrow it from him when I didn't have a necktie not too long ago. Commissioner, would you like to say a few words and introduce your parents?
Yes.
Not a commissioner anymore, so we can limit it to 2 minutes.
Producer, Stephen Starr over there. Thank you, Commissioner Levine, and Commissioner and Vice President McLean Hill, Commissioner Reyes, Commissioner Neiman Brady. Every morning I wake up and think, what can I do to bring somebody who's being left out to my table and bring them up, and also express gratitude for the shoulders that I stood on to get to where I am. So I came here to express gratitude. Dr. William Watson Funderburk, born in 1931, and I'll skip the bio because I am limited for my time, but somebody who recently, about a year ago, 3 years into retirement, the age of tender age of 87, began becoming a climate warrior. And during that time, he's seen climate go from climate change to climate crisis to now a climate emergency. He was a breast cancer researcher, and he's now researching a paper on public health disparities owing to climate adaptation and using global community mapping to reduce disparities in how climate adaptation funds are implemented. Does that sound familiar? It is. Thank you, Commissioner Levine, for your inspiration and your support to Mayor Garcetti and everybody else who supported me. Equity Metrics is going global. Mrs. Marilyn Funderburk, child of the South, but raised in Detroit. Also, Deputy Social Secretary for President Carter, served during the transition under President Reagan, and staffed many events for both Presidents Reagan and Presidents Bush in her event planning company, was the organizer of the monthly climate crisis conversations that we convened, and where we honored DWP on January the 22nd. I don't have the tastefully done lucite piece that my mom has prepared, but it will be sent to you, and in honor of this commission and in honor of the staff and council on whose shoulders I stood to get done what I did. We all did it. And I know that my mother was at the White House during a very critical time in world affairs and organized, for instance, the Jordanian delegation and Israeli delegation and Egyptian delegation in critical peace talks and treaty signings. So from our family to this family, I want to thank you, and I'll yield the rest of my time if I have any. If I don't, then I tried to keep it quick, Mel. Thank you.
We want to thank your parents. Thank your parents for giving us you. Thank you.
May I say something very quickly? Don't know why I'm suddenly so emotional, but I didn't have the opportunity to work with Bill as a commissioner, obviously, but he is and has been incredibly generous with his time, both prior to the public announcement of my appointment and through this day, so I want to say thank you for that. I also, just because you made reference to the shoulders that we stand on, and because this is Black History Month, and because your parents are here, I do want to just take this brief opportunity to acknowledge the important contribution and the remarkable place that we all find ourselves in. It was interesting that last year, the New York Times did their 1619 project, and their still making note of that historic undertaking. Noting the 400th anniversary of slavery in this country. The things like the equity metrics, the example of both your family and your continued striving and commitment to moving things forward, not just for African Americans, but for everyone in this country, I think should be noted at this time. I know that we have a specific item on the agenda relative to the establishment of a new society at the department today, and I'm incredibly pleased about that. I, too, stand on the shoulders of people that I know and people that I don't know who made it possible for a first-generation college kid whose parents, whose dad didn't graduate from high school to sit in this chair. So thank you for being here. Thank you for always reminding us of who we are and where we came from and the debt that we owe. Thank you, Bill. And Mr. and Mr. Funderburk, or Dr. Funderburk, thank you.
Thank you all. The third matter that I want to briefly address pertains to a couple of things that Mayor Garcetti led yesterday. Yesterday, Mayor Garcetti held a press conference with nearly 400 supporters to sign his Executive Directive 25. In the directive entitled LA's Green New Deal, Leading by Example, the mayor directed city departments and commissions to take bold climate action within city buildings, procurement decisions, and activities. A few examples. In response, we at DWP will accelerate the development of programs to increase access to clean energy programs for multifamily buildings, low-income residents, and affordable housing. And DWP will also accelerate the deployment of smart meters with a commitment to install at least 250,000 smart meters by 2025. And we will be working closely with departments and partners across the city in electrifying our city fleet and city buses and decarbonizing our buildings and grid. The mayor put forth a strong set of commitments in response to the urgent threat of climate change and did it with an emphasis on equity and a thriving economy. In the evening yesterday, I, along with, other commissioners, I saw, was every other commissioner that last night? I didn't see everyone, but I thought everyone was there at this terrific event, recognizing the mayor as the new chair of C40, a global climate action network of megacities. He is taking what we are doing here in LA, leading the way to a global scale. And DWP is truly at the center of it all. And I just want to, I know I speak for every member of the commission when I say we welcome this. We're excited to play this role and have this opportunity to help to accomplish these goals that the mayor has set forth and that are so critical, not just for Los Angeles, but as he emphasized yesterday, to Los Angeles leading these climate efforts for the planet. Those are my public comments. Those are my own comments, and we now move to public comments.
Yes. David Michael Bond.
Good morning, President Levine and fellow commissioners, and our General Manager, Mr. Adams. I'd like to congratulate a manager. He is the manager of transmission and distribution district supervision, Ben Sanchez. Today, he is retiring, and he has been here for over 32 years, and he has been terrific and solving all the problems for underground transmission for quite some time. Unfortunately, it's similar to my situation. By being in that position and being a go-to guy and solving problems and resolving issues, he was stuck in that position and had been for approximately 8 years. So as his knowledge and experience is leaving, That is part of the issue that I'm here representing and that promoting and filling these possibilities. There's only one person I know in the office that currently remains, Linda Kubo, who is very honest, helpful, beneficial, and active. She can be consulted by you, and Mr. Sanchez said he would also be available until his actual retirement of July 1st, if any of the board or any of the general manager would like to consult with him about this issue. Now, unfortunately, myself, I've been endangered by several managers, Gonzalez, Kendall, Neglich, and Lynn. And it was a joke at my work location out there. I said, hey, can we endanger your life too so we can promote? And it would be funny if it wasn't true. I know a way to solve this problem if empowered by the board. All we need to do is have evaluations. By having evaluations, you would see each of these individual managers try to acclaim any successful processes that are occurred while deflecting any blame or guilt for them not functioning as part of their duties and responsibilities. The litmus test would be to take the organizational chart we have with 162 managers in power only. I do not know about water. In power only, and see how many of the 43 vacant positions have been filled now that the year is half over. With great frustration, this is the 4th time I come to the board, and I've given out several pieces of information, including a book I wrote in 2011 and a book I wrote last year in 2019, has been distributed to each of the board members and our general manager. I've received no response at any level from any of you. Ignorance is one thing where you can clearly say, I didn't know, or I don't know, or I didn't know. Neglect is knowing and not acting or caring. And that's what I've been receiving while addressing this issue. It is the duty and responsibility of management to help employees promote. That's part of our EEO responsibilities. That this has been stifled or eliminated, or favoritism allowing only select individuals instead of the test for supervisor that died January 15, 2019. Not only has it not been put out, however, it is not even talked about, where select individuals that are quite often related or were related to other individuals were promoted.
Mr. Bond, can you wrap up your remarks, please?
Yes, I can. With that, in 2 weeks, I will bring, with Mayor Garcetti's directive, and I stayed last meeting when I was here. I heard the information that was necessary about green power and trying to benefit and things. I will offer my knowledge and experience, as I was one of the few people involved with tightening all 6,422 battery connections at the Beacon Yard, which is closest to the epicenter of our last earthquake. The Ridgecrest earthquake was 7.1. Stating all this, I would like to see some type of response or action progressing this and the duties and responsibilities of this board. With no checks and balances, some individuals and managers have been out of control for quite some time. In closing, thank you for your assistance with this, and I am David. Is this corporation Goliath?
Thank you.
That closes public comments.
Okay, General Manager?
Thank you. A few brief comments. First of all, in regards to the mayor's press conference yesterday and the signing of the Executive Director 25, one of the key things I noted in being there was that throughout his discussion, one name kept coming up, and that was DWP. And so it is quite clear that probably 3/4 of the efforts and goals that he has really hinge on the department doing its job and us kind of providing the groundwork and the structure for all the goals to be met. So we understand that it's a lot of obligation for us. We have every intention to meet those obligations and are looking forward to the challenge. But there'll be a lot in the next couple years ahead in meeting that directive. And a lot of it, again, the success hinges greatly on this department. And I think the mayor is aware of that and doing whatever he can to support us in our endeavors. I wanted to mention that we had some sad news over the weekend. It was the end of a kind of long and storied era in the Eastern Sierra. There's a gentleman named Dave McCoy that a lot of folks don't recognize the name. Dave McCoy was a department employee back in the 30s and early 40s. He was also the founder of the Mammoth Mountain Ski Resort. He spent 16 years working for the Aqueduct Division. This picture of him in 1940 doing a snow survey. And he worked for us for a total of 16 years, 12 as a hydrographer in the Sierras, sometimes trekking up to 50 miles a day to do snow surveys, probably in the days before they had snowcats to help. And it was during the course of his employment at the department that he saw the possibility of Mammoth Mountain snow courses. And so he went from being a department hydrographer to being the founder of the Mammoth Mountain Ski Resort, which of course is a world-renowned ski area. So he's been a long-time friend of the department, someone we've worked with very closely, not only as an employee, but also as in his business endeavors, someone who's been representing the community, representing our own employees, and has had a long-time engagement with us over the years. So he passed away at the age of 104. So he had a career with us, a long career in the mountain, and his legacy will live on. But he's someone who was a very key individual in the Eastern Sierra who has direct ties to the early days of the aqueduct, literally. So, and of course, if you like that picture and you ever want to go on a snow survey, Rick Shersick always welcomes any of the board members that would like to go on a snow survey. You can find out firsthand why you can't walk backwards in snowshoes. So. With that, the next thing I'd like to ask Rich to give us a little briefing on open house they had regarding one of the major projects that impacts not only the water supply for downtown LA, but also major construction in the edge of the city of Burbank. So go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, and part of our continuing efforts to improve our infrastructure, we christened the start of what we call the River Supply Conduit Section 7, RSC 7. And as the name implies, there was 6 before that. What we're doing is replacing what we now call the old river supply conduit, which brings water, groundwater and water from the San Fernando Valley down to this part of the central part of the city. It goes through our Hedricks Reservoir, which some of you have been to, and it's overall a part of our water quality improvement program. This segment is 13,000 feet long. It's the longest tunnel that we have in water and power in the city of Los Angeles. What's really remarkable to me is it was designed by our own engineers here in-house. I did a tunnel 20 years ago, and I remember one of our engineers wanted to learn how to be a tunneling engineer, and I said, well, we'll never build another tunnel. Well, we've built probably 3 since then.
You've built
and so it's really remarkable. We're really proud of our crew that was out there. The event was of note because where the pit is, where we're putting in the tunnel boring machine, is in the city of Burbank. So we have worked very hard with the city of Burbank for them to allow us to do this. And so we invited the mayor and the council, which showed up from the city of Burbank to christen this machine, which is a tunnel boring machine. And tradition has it that all tunnel boring machines are named after a woman for good fortune. And in this case, the woman is a 4-year-old girl, a daughter of our project engineer, Johan Torledo, and she is Luciana. So we had 2 Lucianas there. We had the live breathing one and the 13-foot diameter tunnel boring machine, Luciana. So it was a great time for our staff and the people of Burbank. And so it's, for me, at this part of my career, to see the next level of staff coming up and designing and building was really gratifying, and I think it should be gratifying to all of us. So thank you.
So the last item, when the wind let loose a couple nights ago, and I was never experienced something like that. I was in the backyard, and I thought the highest gust I could remember seeing. The first thing I thought was that there's a lot of brave men and women that are leaving their homes right now and going to work. And so Andy's going to briefly talk about the wind event and the response we had, but I think it's important for the public to recognize that any time that the weather is bad, you know that we're showing up to work, and because that's exactly when we're needed the most. So Andy, go ahead.
Thank you, Marty. So we had a windstorm event over February 3rd and 4th. Started about 1 a.m. Part of our normal preparations as we get advance notice is we start to bring in. We stage a couple of additional line crews at midnight for that night, just so we have, because the hardest thing to do is keep up and you don't want to fall behind. So we brought in additional crews on both sides of the hill. But this, I've only seen a couple of storms like this where, with wind, where it really just started escalating and kept going. So at 5 in the morning, we went to an advanced level. We went from just a few customers at about 1 a.m. We had over 8,000 by 7 a.m. And by 2 o'clock that day, we peaked at about 23,000 customers out at one time. So, but by 11 p.m. that night, we were back down to 1,600 customers. So a lot of the damage that we had, as you could advance the slide,
Yeah.
Reggie, just for a few
He's there.
pictures. Keep going. Was if you look at the wind gusts, that it was sustained between 15 and 20, and then gusts between 25 and 30 miles an hour.
Were these like all over? How wide of an area did this cover?
It covered pretty much most of the city. Typically the valley gets hit harder through this and then through the west, but in this one it was a majority of the city that it covered. But the biggest, if you can go ahead, Reg, was tree issues. So we've had multiple cases of trees either falling over or palm fronds blowing. In this case, you see the wire down, and then there's a big private property tree right there. And as the wind blows, and then depending on the direction of the wind, in a lot of cases that tree would blow with the wire, right, and not be an issue. When the wind direction changes, now it blows into the conductor. And in our case, we typically will trim that below, or we'll trim to the side. An additional 4 feet past what we're required to for extra clearance. So over the time at the peak, we had 81 crews working around the clock. This is a pole that came over, and in this case, this was a sort of a banner from one of the businesses there locally that blew up into the conductor and caused the circuit to relay out. And then again, the bigger part being just trees, whether it's palm fronds. This is our crews out at night where the tree fell into the communications and broke the pole off. And so that was a lengthy restoration. First we had to get our crews out there to come in and clear up the tree and then come back. Again, these are palm fronds, and in that area, typically the palm fronds the trees are not close. I think in this case, they told me those were like a block and a half away. Those palm trees where the wind just picked them up and took them. So, and then this was one of the worst ones where the tree was completely across the street and fell across the street and snapped our pole off. So, and then that's just our troubled dispatchers hard at work trying to manage the storm. So overall, there were just under 51,000 customers out. The majority of them, 95.1% were restored within 24 hours, but a couple of those where the trees broke the poles off, and those would have exceeded the 24-hour period. So now when you look, the winds have been significantly blowing in the last couple of days, and really we haven't had much trouble. So a lot of these we prepare, it's kind of hit and miss on where it blows. And we had some weather before, and there's a lot of dead trees out there. There's a lot of dead branches out there on some of these private property trees. And so, but again, the crews worked hard. There were no injuries. They worked safely, and within a couple of days we had everything back on.
Very impressive, once again.
Thank you.
I was in there. I did have one slight follow-up comment, and that was, it's a ways away, but I'd like you to start putting it in the back of your mind. On May 16th is our annual Lineman's Rodeo, and so we actually have competition with the crews from all over Southern California, and our own crews. It's out at our Truesdale Training Center. It is quite the event. There'll be thousands of people there, and you'll see people competing to do the very kind of things you just saw on the screen, but everything from wiring and putting conductors up to rescuing someone off a pole. It's an amazing event, so I've been going the last several years, and it's quite impressive, and so I hope that you'll be able to put it in your calendars and keep that in mind. I'll continue to remind everybody as it gets closer.
Are you going to participate, Marty?
No, but Andy said they're putting together a veterans team of him and I saw Brian Wilbur sitting over here and all the other old timers. So. Is that right, Andy?
Working on it.
I'll be the ground supervisor.
I think they're afraid at every step I took, the pole would sink. So.
Comments from commissioners on agendized items and requests from commissioners relating to departmental operations. Commissioner Reyes.
I just want to mention that about 2 weeks ago, I had the privilege of being the keynote speaker for the Society of Women Engineers annual recognition program. And I tell you, I am in awe of the stories that I heard about their lives and the careers of our women engineers here at the department. And I would just like to say that I'm very grateful for being given that privilege, and that for all of us here to recognize the role that female engineers bring to the table for our organization. So I just want to express that gratitude for being invited to that wonderful event. And hopefully you make it an annual one so we can then recognize the good work and dedication that you bring daily to our department. And then last, I just want to piggyback on the Mayor's Executive Directive 25 and really just expanding that Green New Deal LA and setting the bold actions, what he's calling as a decade of action. And I know DWP will require that it will require strong commitment from us as the biggest municipal utility in the nation. There are so many milestones to attain, and we have to really look internally within ourselves, draw from our strength and what we can do to advance these solutions centered around equity. So I thank Mayor Garcetti for that executive directive. It's very timely. We need to take bolder actions to fight our climate change. Thank you.
Other commissioner comments? Hearing none, ratepayer advocate.
I have comments on one item that I'll make now rather than waiting for the item, so it doesn't necessarily have to be called. It's on item 12, which is on city direct billings. The item notes 31 million of annual fee allocations from various departments. That isn't the total amount that is billed from the city. There are other project-related costs from a variety of areas and a variety of departments. The total annual for the last fiscal year was 87 million, and the prior year was 77 million. And that is an increase year on year of 13%, which is a rapid increase. The key component of the increase was pavement fees, primarily, I believe, the street damage restoration fee, which is a new fee that was added from Public Works in the 18-19 year. If you took out that street damage restoration fee, it would have been a decline in costs from the city of 17%. These payments over the prior few years have averaged 55 to 65 million. We've documented these in our 2015-16 rate review, and again in the interim rate review. I think as we look at that growth rate of 13%, DWP's revenue grew at 6%. So there's a disparity in the growth of these fees.
Fred, have you looked at distinguishing the charges relative to what would exist if LADWP were still a business, versus how much as a result of being part of the city. And I'll give you an example. Joe and his team, the city attorneys, that is something that we get billed for, which makes a lot of sense because if LADWP was independent, it would have to have a legal staff. But what charges are incurred by the department as a result of being just part of, because some of the city street services work that you talk about is necessary for the work that we do, and that should be incurred by us. But have you sliced it that way?
We have not done a deep dive on what the key test, I think, is. Are other utilities receiving the same charges? And the street damage restoration fee, I understand that the initiation was going to be applied to the likes of AT&T and SoCal Gas. I'm not sure whether it was applied or not to sanitation for sewerage excavation. And a lot of these were charges that a utility operating in any city street would be. This does not include numbers for city transfer and some other miscellaneous payments like the transfers of funds due sanitation for billing we do for them. This is to try to pull out just things related to fees by the city.
Can I make a request that you look into that?
We will. We'll do that as part of what I anticipate will be the next rate review.
That's it? Thank you. Susie, discussion with neighborhood council representatives on any neighborhood council resolution or community impact statement filed with the city clerk which relate to any agenda item listed or being considered on this agenda for the Water and Power Board.
No community impact statements or formal positions were filed by any neighborhood councils on the items on today's agenda.
Our open agenda includes items 11 through 18. Do any commissioners wish to remove any of those items for discussion?
Yes.
Which?
I believe 13. Yeah.
13.
18.
18. Any others? Okay, do I have a motion to approve items 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17?
So moved.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Those were approved. After we hear the management report and anything else to be said on other reports, we will take up items 13 and 18. But first we will move to management reports, impact of import tariffs.
Good morning, Commissioners. This presentation is in response to request made by Commissioner Susana Reyes late last year regarding to briefly discuss on the U.S. government's impact of U.S. government's tariff on goods imported to the United States, specifically from China. Power System has been working very closely with supply chain services over the past 9 months, and we're here to present that.
Good morning. Erin Henning from Supply Chain Services. So I think you know our mission is to acquire goods and services at the right price, but it's also at from the right source and in a timely manner. All of this is in support of LADWP operations, both water and power. We also promote ethical and transparent procurement, and specifically, we have a fiduciary responsibility with the city charter and the admin code to present to you fair and reasonable pricing, and of course the ratepayers. We always want to get the best price for whatever products that we are securing. So in supply chain, we work with both the systems, water, and power to get cost estimates and evaluations before we put anything out to bid. Our goal is to do competitive bidding on all items till we get a fair market value of the prices. But we are seeing an increasing dependency on imports from around the world. And with that, we are very sensitive to price fluctuations in what we buy, the market conditions, supply and demand, how often we need it, how quickly we need it, the currency market as it fluctuates, and then, of course, the trade policies and barriers, which what we're here to talk to you today is tariffs that have been impacting what we buy.
So to do a deep dive on tariffs, tariffs are basically taxes that are added on, imposed by governments to add the price or the cost on the imported good. Primarily, they're imposed to protect domestic industries and domestic employment. The goal is to increase the price and to make that good less competitive. Over the past few years, it's been the topic that has gained attention is the trade deficit between the United States and China. The total dollar amount of imports from China into the United States, it's about 5 times higher than the exports from the United States to China, so it has gained a lot of attention. And for that reason, in response to that, the executive branch of the government has imposed some or taken some actions in applying these sections that are listed on this slide. These sections are based on trade laws that were enacted by Congress back in the 1960s and 70s to providing the executive branch the designation or the authority to impose on this. I'll go through some of the sections pretty fast, the ones that are impacting us. Section 201 is it allows the president to impose temporary tariff to protect domestic industries. A specific example for this is there was a tariff that was imposed on solar panels, but it started from 30%, and over 4 years, it's going down 5% every year. Currently, it's at 15%. The impact of that has not been that substantial on the U.S. market. Section 232 is a very important one. This allows the president to adjust imports if the Department of Commerce determines that these products are basically threatened to impair the U.S. national security. And steel and aluminum are 2 commodities that were picked for this application of this tariff. And the last one, but not least, is Section 301. It allows the U.S. trade representative to implement this tariff to impose import restrictions if there is any determination of unfair trade practices. So these are the 3 driving factors for application of tariffs. This slide primarily shows from June 2018 through May of 2019 on the scale, on the volume, and the intensity and the rate at which tariffs were applied. It started with $34 billion worth of Chinese-made goods. About a year later, it escalated to $200 billion worth of Chinese goods being taxed at 25%. In terms of impact on DWP, only 2 of the sections impacted us marginally. The first one is steel and aluminum. We buy a lot of equipment that do have steel and aluminum in them, and the price scale going up by 25% has impacted us. And at the same time, there are about 1,100 products that are subject to the 25% tax increase or tariff on Chinese-made goods, and that has impact. Just to discuss the scale, China has about 52% of the global share for steel production, and anytime there is a price tip or increase, competitors, domestic and international, impacted as well, so they raise their prices. So we have seen that happening in the market. So first, yes, sir.
How competitive is American steel and aluminum with Chinese?
U.S. has only 4.7% of the global steel production. The European Union is about 10% in aggregate. So the Chinese steel production is very dominant in the world.
And after that, is it India or what?
India is about 6.9%, around there. So that's the second highest in the world after China. So this is just to list down what are the actions that we have taken. We identified the equipment that are subject to a tariff increase, specifically transformers and breakers. As Erin mentioned, the majority of this equipment are imported goods. On the water side, I think water system has some impact on valves, but most of them are purchased on a project basis. But there is an impact on power system contracts. We do include commodity price indexes in our contracts typically. We adjust based on the commodity price on a quarterly basis or annual basis. We do adjustments. But these tariffs add another 25% on top of the steel cost, and there's some impact. So there were 6 contracts that we were aware of, and we communicated with the vendors that were on the verge of increasing their prices. We negotiated with all 6 to commit to the same price that they submitted a bid on years ago, about 3 years ago. So we have been very successful in that. We still continue to bring in some amendments to the board when our negotiations with vendors are successful in terms of keeping the pre-tariff prices. We're not successful all the time, but whenever we are able to do so in order to save, to have some savings for our contracts, we bring those to the board for approval.
In addition, we're always looking for contracting opportunities, specifically on the water side. As Simon mentioned, they do a lot of purchasing of the valves done by project, and so we spend a lot of time with Rich and his staff of late for me to understand better how one 24-inch valve is different from another. But we are, working together as a team, both on the water and the power side, to see where we can get longer-term contracts instead of buying one-off purchasing, because the market is in a flux right now. So you purchase something today, next week it's a different price. So we're looking to see where we can get longer-term contracts to lock in some price as the market changes. In addition, we're continuing to monitor the news and the industries and changes in policies, and working with our peers in California as well as across the U.S. to make sure that we are in line with what everyone else is doing, to see that we get the best prices that we can. But as Simon said, we are seeing some increases on the water side. The last several purchase orders, we're looking at about a 10% increase on steel products. And it really depends on the competition, on whether we're not actually seeing the 25% increase that we thought we'd see, but we are seeing a tick up in the individual purchase orders that we see coming in.
Thank you. Questions?
Any questions?
Do we have adequate inventory of our transformers, breakers, cables, because we have our infrastructure upgrade schedules? How is that going?
Yes, good morning. Bassam Abu Shakra, Manager of Power System Contracts and Spec. For getting ready for the summer and our resiliency program, we do have adequate supply. So for distribution transformers specifically that affects directly the customers, we normally keep 9 months to 12 months supply in stock because, from lessons learned where we get a lot of equipment overseas, we can have a strike at the port or something happens in China or Korea. So yes, we do. We have ample supply for the summer readiness and for our resiliency program. And we haven't had any issue with inventory since 2006. That brings a lot of memory. The heat wave that we had faced in 2006, we learned a lot from it.
It's good to know. And can you give me examples of what those 1,100 other products that are impacted under Section 301?
The 1,100 other products
that we order.
Well, in
that
general,
steel, aluminum, because there could be a cascading effect on this one. I mean, it's just now steel and aluminum, but there are products that have those content that we are ordering that could be part of the tariff impact.
So the categorization of the impacted products are put in product categories such as computers and electronics. That's the highest portion, taking about 45% of the impacted equipment. It's very hard to tell exactly how much of that is impacting us. It's not as easy as the steel and aluminum to really separate out. Some miscellaneous manufacturing products, if there is any manufacturing done in China at the first phase or second phase of the manufacturing phase, that may have an impact, but we haven't actually looked at those. But by category, that's how the products are designated. We haven't seen any.
Yeah, because from what I've heard, we could have there are the related supplies that are impacted are like the nails, the HVAC, anything that's like almost construction related and related to facilities maintenance.
Correct.
Could be impacted as well because they're drawn from just not just those two tariffs on steel and aluminum, but now they're being included in a bigger type of tariff that could have that cascading increase.
And it does. I mean, as an example, when we're looking at an overhead distribution facility where we have the wood pole, the cross arms, they're coming from mainly northwest, but then you get the hardware, to connect the wire to the pole. So the hardware, we saw an increase in price because of the tariff from China. The connectors, to splice wires, right? We saw an increase. So yes, it does have a cascade effect. A good point, Commissioner.
So that's just my request is for your team to closely monitor that and to let us know if there is anything significant that requires our action.
Will do.
Thank you so much for your report.
Yeah, I think I'm just especially happy to hear about that we've got in inventory the ability to meet our needs as we deal not only with tariffs but with the coronavirus as well. I know that they're now having serious shipping difficulties out of China as the
and factory closures.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
the
factory
factories are
closures.
still closed, yes.
And so just in my other life dealing with clients that are facing the impacts of things not moving, I know that's a pretty serious potential problem, and so knowing that we can ride through that's important. And it's interesting, Commissioner Reyes, that you sort of drill down to all of the residual impacts. I think if you are a fry shopper and you walk in the store and you see empty shelves, and you talk to these retailers, a lot of it's the result of tariffs and just not being able to get what they need to stock their shelves. So it's not surprising that we're having residual impacts here. Thank you for the report. It's appreciated.
Sure.
If the board's interested, Aaron will probably not be happy with me on this, but maybe we should give you a little rundown of just where all of our products come from, because we are very international. I think on the water side, I believe both of the only two large diameter pipe manufacturers are now both in Mexico. right below the border. We have the earthquake-resistant pipe comes from Japan, although there's discussion about trying to manufacture that here. On the power side, the large transformers come from Asia, they come from Europe, cable comes from overseas. Our global footprint for buying things is pretty dramatic, and that might be something of interest to the board to see exactly where we're shopping and where our business is going. You see companies come through on something that we're purchasing, but it really doesn't give you the whole background behind that. So, sorry, Aaron, but
That's all right. We'll be interested in that. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Filed items, financial services, November 2019.
The November report is in your package, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Hearing none. Quarterly status report on water quality regulatory compliance project, second quarter, October 1 to December 31.
Same. Take any questions on that one and the one following that on the Elysian Reservoir Community Parks enhancement.
Any questions? Hearing none. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of January 28th, 2020?
So move.
Second. Those in favor? Aye. They're approved. Okay, we will take up items 13 and 18 before going into closed session. Commissioner Neiman Brady, do you want a presentation, or do you just want to ask some questions?
I would be delighted to get a presentation, and I have one question.
Okay.
I'm just pleased
Who will
to see
be
this
presenting?
Mr. Greg Reed and Lori Morrish.
Okay, good.
Thank you both for agendizing this item, and I'm glad to see this is happening. My one question, in addition to the presentation, in the materials it said that 6.2% of LADWP engineers are African American, while the city is 9%. I'm just wondering if other city organizations have a similar disparity in the percentage. I don't know if you even know that. But is this pervasive, or is it something LADWP?
I believe it is similar, but we don't have the exact numbers for the other city departments. But we can get that information for you personally if we need to do that.
Okay. Yeah, and it was more out of, are we relatively imbalanced, or is this something unique to LADWP?
Right.
It depends on the department.
It depends, yes, it does.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, Public Works Commissioner Mike Davis has been spearheading the mayor's efforts on gender equity as well as ethnic diversity in the engineering ranks. And so there's a committee of a variety of city departments, including DWP, who participate in that effort. And so there's outreach happening among the variety of city departments who hire engineers. Okay, well, thank you for allowing us to sit before you today, and we're very pleased to have this item before you. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Greg Reed. I'm Assistant Director of Water Engineering and Technical Services, and I'm also the President of the LADWP NESB Professional Chapter.
And my name is Lori Morrish. I am a manager of the Power External Energy Resources External Generation Projects Group. That's a lot. And the current Vice President of LADWP NESB.
And with that said, we're really happy to be here, and it's really poignant to be in front of you during African American Heritage Month, Black History Month, and to have this proposal for your consideration to establish an organization that would really champion the cause of diversity, in particular among African American participation here at the department, and impacting the community as well and the city at large.
And we have others with us here in the boardroom, if you could stand, please, that are standing with us as we present this to the commissioners. Thank you.
So with that said, I also want to thank you as commissioners who have shown considerable leadership and commitment to the question of diversity and parity and equity. I think it was great to hear the comments about the leadership and championing that our former Commissioner Bill Funderburg had with establishing the equity metrics And efforts like these are improved by measuring what you want to see happen. I can say that I also appreciate the general manager's leadership and support, as well as the system heads. We've gotten very solid support in the various initiatives that we've been pursuing, including our recruitment efforts that we'll get into in our presentation, as well as this particular request that we have in front of you today. And I want to echo the sentiment about standing on the shoulders of others who have opened up the doors excuse me, and paved the way and opened up opportunities.
Make me cry.
Where those opportunities may not have been afforded to our population in past years. And so I'm happy to know that we have your support, that we have Rich Harris's support, Rayco Kerr, Andy Kendall, Marty Adams, and the whole management team for this particular effort. So with that said, we have a few slides that we want to share with you, kind of run through it fairly on a quick pace so that we don't take too much of your time, and then we could get into a more conversation once we've completed the presentation. So with that said, the first slide here is just really kind of getting into the question that Commissioner Neiman Brady asked about the demographics. And so you could see that we have our distribution of engineers across the department, primarily in power, followed by water and joint. And of those, we have the breakdown at the associate level. So that's like the associate ones, associate twos, first line supervisor, 5.7%, as well as the manager level, full engineers, managers such as myself and Lori, at roughly 8.8%, collectively comprising the 6.2% as compared to the city's demographic in terms of African American population. And as we mentioned a moment ago, the mayor's directives for gender equity really drive this mission forward, in addition to the DWP's equity metrics that Bill Funderburg championed. And so that's really targeting fairness in our hiring and our promotions, looking at how we can be better equitable in building a workforce that reflects the communities that we serve. With that,
right, and I just wanted to say thank you also to many of the staff, especially we have Shannon Pasquale, who is an assistant general manager over on the human resources side that has really helped with this effort, where not only with NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers, but Society of Women Engineers and the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, the regional conferences that we are going out and recruiting to help with LADWP's endeavors.
Okay, so I have shoulders who I stand on, which is my mentor and friend, Stefan Tucker, who recently retired from the organization. He really ignited the current round of recruitment for historically black colleges and the various conferences that we go to. And it started roughly in 2017. And shortly after that, in 2018, he really pulled together a large number of our African American employees to participate in the process. And this picture is just a reflection of some of those efforts of meeting, planning out how we're going to do things. And ultimately, it resulted in the formation of the African American Engineers Council. And so with that said, it was a way to share the championing of the efforts to diversify our workforce, while also building a way to network with one another, build a community, encourage one another, and have other aspects that Lori's going to get into right now.
And so part of our HBCU, the Historic Black and College Universities, recruitment, what we have done in the past is to go to the different colleges and give information during their college fairs, as well as recruitment efforts to colleges such as FAMU and Alabama A&M, Tennessee State University, Howard University, Southern University, Georgia Tech, in addition to bring an active voice in the local colleges and schools in their NSBE chapters, as well as recruitment efforts at these local universities and colleges. And so the recruitment effort has been championed since we were kind of formed a few years ago, but now that effort would be even helped by being a NSBE professional chapter here at LADWP. We would then get a bit more credibility in these local colleges as well as the other colleges with their NSBE chapters.
And I also want to give a shout out to Lori because she's an alumni from an HBCU, Howard University.
Yes,
and
an active member of NSBE while I was there.
Clearly they produced the brightest of minds. Okay, so the next area is leadership development. And so with the African American Engineers Council, there were a number of tasks and responsibilities that the club essentially provided leadership opportunities to our members. And so there was a whole kind of strategic effort to not only do the recruitment, but also to look at mentoring, to look at networking, employee engagement, having solid relationships with the campuses that we visit and the deans. And so we picked, our members signed up for the various roles and responsibilities, took ownership, had team members who would drive that forward. Lori mentioned in her remarks that we recruited both from the historically black colleges, which are primarily on the East Coast and in the South, but we also reach out to the local NSBE chapters here in the Basin, such as Cal State Northridge, where I'm from, Cal State LA, Long Beach, and other campuses to connect with those students, let them know about DWP opportunities, and attract them to our company. And so, again, leadership development comes in a lot of forms, and we see that as continuing as we transition from AAEC to LADWP NSBE. And then finally, we also had an opportunity to partner with LA San. We had a community service event where they wanted volunteers to participate. I forget the name of the park. It's, oh gosh, I wish I could remember the name of the park, but it's the Augustus Hawkins Nature Park. So this is a very significant park because it commemorates the first African American congressman to our National Congress. And so anyway, this particular event gave our members an opportunity to provide STEM type activities, both from the water side. We had some water filtration projects, as well as from the power side. We had some circuits and other things, and it really provided that engagement with our local children.
And so I wanted to get into just briefly what our mission statement is. This is the draft mission statement. I didn't want to read this. To encourage, promote, and increase the diversity at all levels of responsibility in the field of engineering at the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power through direct involvement in the recruitment, networking, and mentoring of engineering students and personnel so as to ensure our engineering ranks are inclusive and reflective of the diverse communities we serve. So the core values of NSBE National, and I'm just going to read them, kind of like the verse, excel. So excellence, exposure, community empathy, and leadership. And we have then boiled those down to just some core values that we are going to adopt here at DWP.
And we see those as aligning perfectly well with all that I just talked about in terms of our desire to develop our membership in terms of their professionalism and their excellence, being able to impact our community in terms of outreach, STEM, promoting kids' activities and interest in STEM, being able to network among our colleagues and make sure that those who are coming from many, many miles away can call this place a home, and hopefully that increases the retention of people who are coming to the department from out of state. So we see a perfect alignment, and we see NSBE as being able to help us excel at all of our priorities and objectives.
And so the current status and our immediate goals, again, Greg mentioned that this started out as the African American Engineers Council back in June of 2018, a little bit before then, but we kind of really solidified that with Stephon Tucker back in June of 2018. We had 14 founding members when we initiated the process to become a professional chapter of NSBE in the summer, June of 2019. Our chapter constitution was completed in September. We became nationally recognized by NSBE National last December 2019, and today we are coming before you to be recognized by LADWP. So our very immediate goals are to have a launch next week, Wednesday, February 19, during Engineers Week, and then followed by a membership sign-up. And we just want to emphasize that this is open to all DWP employees.
And so with that said, that takes us to our final recommendation and request to you, which is to direct staff to execute the DWP NSBE Professional Chapter as a recognized employee organization, and to authorize the chief accounting employee to implement payroll deductions upon employee request and certification of amounts to LADWP NSBE.
Just so I understand, so payroll deductions are to pay for their chapter dues, or what is the payroll deduction?
The payroll deductions would support our local member dues. There is a national dues as well, and that will not be a mandatory thing for local membership. However, for those who aspire to be office holders within the organization, the national dues are required for that. And so those 14 of us who paid the dues helped us to qualify as a chapter, and we'll continue to do that, and we'll encourage others to do so as well, but it won't be mandatory. So the local dues, payroll deduction will be used for the local dues.
Well, this is a wonderful presentation, and I'm very glad Commissioner Neiman Brady wanted the full presentation rather than just to ask questions. It was very, very worthwhile, actually quite exciting. I can't imagine that my fellow commissioners don't share my excitement in hearing what wonderful strides you've made. I just have a couple of questions. How do we do in retention of African American engineers?
You know, that's a good number that we'll have to ask our friends in HR to pull some statistics for us and provide that back to you.
I'd be interested in that. And also, what do you, in your engagement or relations with other chapters in other places, what kind of assistance do you're just starting? Right. To what extent do the fellow chapters help, and how do they help?
So we have members here that are either alumni of some of the chapters in the local area, but we reach out to them or they reach out to us. Some of the programs they have, we can be an avenue for collegiate or pre-collegiate students to come and tour LADWP facilities. We can provide workshops for the college students. We can, some of the plans we have are like a NSBE Junior Day. Those are the pre-college students. A collegiate day, and where they literally come here to find out what it is that they can aspire to be. What does an engineer do? And what that does is it inspires them to continue on into some STEM project or program so that they can become members of LADWP staff. So those are some of the programs that we plan on having. Again, some of the funds that we do plan to collect will go towards that effort. We will also help with presentation skills for college students, maybe resume writing workshops or college help for the students that are thinking about going into college. Some of the things that we were not afforded, but yes. And that would also get LADWP out there, especially locally, where they can say, yes, DWP really cares about this neighborhood.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, I think one of the things that people, that's sometimes hard to fully appreciate is for a lot of, say, boomers, because it's somewhat different for the millennials, but the first time that I set foot on a college campus was the day that I went to enroll. The first lawyer I met teaching me as an undergraduate. A couple of guys I'll never forget. Virgil Roberts continues to be a friend. He was a Harvard graduate. The other was a Yale graduate. They were the first Ivy League African Americans I ever met. And in my sophomore year, at a time that I was a very radical young woman, they told me that the most revolutionary thing that I could do was to graduate and to do it with honors. So the impact of presence is something that I think we all really appreciate. That until and unless you are able to get in front of people and to simply give them a window into what's available and what's possible. I have to tell you that when I was a 16, 17-year-old making a decision about what I would do with my life, it never would have occurred to me to be an engineer. I didn't know any. I'd never seen any. I hadn't heard of any. So it continues to be incredibly important that we not only excel in our day-to-day lives and work, but also take the time to show up for others and to reach back and to pull them forward. And I grew up in a middle-class home in Orange County, so it's not that my story's one of tremendous struggle. But that said, what you see and who you know, and what is demonstrated by other people's paths is incredibly important. So I'm thrilled that this group has taken the time to both organize and to make the commitment to make a way for others. I also just have to say that I'm also incredibly impressed by this organization and its support for efforts like this, both with respect to African Americans, women, and other underrepresented groups. I teased a number of folks in this room the first time I saw them across the hall meeting. I walked in and said, "Whoa." There's like a glass wall here. Everybody can see you. What are you doing? Again, going back to the reality of, at least when I grew up, 3 or more black people in a room by themselves having a meeting was kind of revolutionary and was a little scary, and you wondered what would happen. And the fact that this department makes it safe for its employees to not only grow and prosper and excel, but also to think about, to plan, and to promote inclusivity in ways that will be effective to their unique communities is really a testament to this department and to where it sits and to this city. And the fact that it is championed at the highest levels of government and by our mayor is also something that we should be very grateful for as we sit here today. So I'm going to stop talking before I take myself down this road and really, although I will say one thing. Last night at the mayor's event, one of the comments made by a speaker was that we were in a building designed by Paul Williams, an extraordinary African-American architect. And among the most poignant things that he said, and it was something that I didn't know but fully appreciated, which is that he had to learn to draw upside down, because at the time that he was working, many of his white clients did not want to sit next to him. And so he learned to draw upside down in order to show his work. And it's just that quiet, determined excellence, the commitment to not let anything or anybody stop you from doing what you do and doing it as well as you can. I think that's the thing that is always so impressive to me. And I know that for many individuals, in this room, and certainly those who set and blaze trails for us, that's what they exhibited. It's not just that they were extraordinary, but they overcame professional slights. They walked past, stomached, and overlooked things that would make many of us rail in protest just to pave the way. So I sincerely appreciate your efforts and the efforts of all of the employee organizations, and I know that each of you in your own way in this time are doing the things that need to be done in order to keep that path open and to keep the light blazing. So thank you, and I will be very, very proud to vote for this resolution today.
Thank you.
I too commend you for your effort to establish this organization. I also want to call out an important thing in one of your slides that talk about mentoring, because for me, mentoring is so critical when it comes to, let's talk about retention. That mentoring part, when done right, can form that foundation that we all need for just the networking and the advancement of our peers. And so I would like to see this department have a formal mentoring program, right? That could, because it can make the difference between night and day. You're encouraging folks to step up, and you as a mentor sharing your thoughts and your insights of your experience and your journey here at DWP. And that could be very valuable to that person who just needs that extra push and encouragement and confidence in himself or herself to really aspire for a career here at the department. So I'm calling that out because for me, that is such a great thing to have in every organization here at DWP, is that mentorship level that can make all the difference. So thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
I'd move that we formally recognize the LADWP NASP chapter.
I second. Those in favor? Aye. Seeing as everyone was in favor, I won't ask if anyone's opposed. Congratulations. Congratulations on your
Thank you.
terrific work. And we will now move to the last open agenda item of this meeting, which is the motion by Commissioner Susana Reyes relative to instructions to the department by the City Controller's audit of the low-income and lifeline discount programs.
Commissioner, we have one speaker.
Okay, please call the speaker.
Augustine Cabrera.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners. My name is Agustin Cabrera. I'm the senior organizer at the LA Alliance for a New Economy and a member of Repower LA Coalition that is focusing on equity, jobs, on frontline communities as we transition to a greener economy. So we support the city controller's report's recommendations and applaud Commissioner Reyes's bold leadership on the board. For us, using billing information to determine eligibility for low-income programs can set a valuable precedent for energy programs such as HYPE and shared solar. If these recommendations are followed, this outreach method can be used as a model to increase capacity for many LADWP programs in addition to the low-income programs. Additionally, we want to see targeted outreach that is culturally relevant, accessible in a variety of languages, and that continues to be paired with outreach done by local community-based organizations. We encourage establishing a bold penetration goal of 90% for low-income programs as a benchmark. And lastly, we support expanding the equity metrics to include stronger program tracking because it has the ability to also reach other programs within LADWP. So adding more details to EMDI around outreach timelines and progress can help inform how resources are needed to expand LADWP ratepayer programs. So lastly, we look forward to working with the board and the department staff to ensure we are reaching low-income communities of color through thoughtful outreach, evaluation, and activities. Thank you.
I guess I'm the one that called this, so unless Commissioner Reyes has something to say about the motion in advance. I just want to, I called this item for a couple of reasons. A, I wanted to both applaud the leadership of Commissioner Reyes for really zeroing in on this particular area of department's work and moving toward establishing a very formalized both way of approaching it and also a plan that we can begin to track. I see that the call is to have a report back within 60 to 90 days. I wanted to encourage the staff to be mindful of our board agendas and not to go beyond the 90 days. So just making sure that, for me, 90 days is sort of the outside, kind of point here, but we certainly don't want to go beyond that. So we don't want to, schedule and have it roll over and not make that time frame. In addition, as we're looking at these issues, I want to make sure that we are looking at them from a budget perspective as well. I'm deathly concerned about establishing ambitious programs and not making sure that we are also putting into place the operational structure to deliver on them. And whether that means enough staffing to process rebates or whatever it takes, we don't want there to be the expectation that and sort of the plan to deliver without the operational infrastructure to get it done. And so with that, I am very much looking forward to supporting this motion and to the work that will follow.
Is there a motion?
I move to support. I move that we adopt item 18.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Big eye.
There's 3 ayes and 1 big eye. Okay, Counselor.
Yeah, at this point, we will recess in a closed session, and in accordance with California Government Code Section 54957.1, we will report any final actions taken therein. We are in recess.